Good evening, everybody. This is May the 3rd. Tonight, I'd like to give you a little bit of an overview of something that has, in the last number of years, has been basically taken off of the walls of many public buildings and out of public buildings. They don't seem to think that the 10 Commandments are fitting to be in a place where they supposedly make the law. They organize the law, but in essence, they never made the law to start with. And it's very, very strange and seems very, very fake to think that man has made laws, because they're not qualified to. I have gone through a number of things in the early part of Scripture, and you know that if any of you have been listening to any of the other videos that I've done, God wanted to give some direction to Abram. He was going to make a covenant with Abram. And of course, we know Abram as Abraham because he was later known to be the father of many nations. In that video, I spoke of the idea that Abraham, in his earlier name, his earlier calling, was going to make an agreement with God. About the time that he was going to make this covenant, he, of course, got animals, birds, to sacrifice, divide up, and you would walk through between the portions of the sacrifice. And that was basically how the covenants were made. But Abraham had a little bit of a surprise, because it was not meant to be that Abraham would make the covenant. When he had the offerings made that would be walked through, a very deep sleep came upon Abraham, and he was waylaid to the point of, as he woke up, or as he was waking, he looked up, and at that point, it was God in the form of a smoking flax proceeding through the sacrifices. In essence, God was making covenant with Abraham, not Abraham with God. God was saying it would be this way. And God is putting his wisdom and his form through between the offerings to make the sacrifice of the covenant. Looking at Exodus, which just down the line ways, we have in Exodus 20, we have Moses having climbed up Mount Horeb. He went up to be with the Lord, because the Lord wanted him to come up and spend some time. When he went up, he did not want any others in this scenario. God made covenant with Abraham. This is the second portion. This is where God speaks to Moses and basically gives these 10 commandments are to a great extent the whole of the law. Although the Jewish people, they have something like 600 and some different aspects of the law that they have got to follow. God speaking here, he gives 10 commandments. Starting off with verse 1 in Exodus 20. And God spake all these words, saying, verse 2, I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Commandment number 1. Verse 4. And the second commandment. The first one is basically saying he wants the people to have no other gods because he's not going to be in competition. Plain and simple. Because all other gods are basically just branches off from the other guy that thinks he's a god, and he's running interference. But he is not a god. He was a created being. Verse 4 says, "Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, to serve them, for I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, unto the third and fourth generations of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments." So we basically have two commandments to start with. Number 3, thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain. For the Lord will not hold him guiltless that takes his name in vain. We know that today there seems to be a looseness of the lip, as it were. And it is surprising how many times God's name is spoken to damn this or damn that. That is not where he's at. That is not where he's at. Commandment number 4. And this is a simple one. Anybody that goes to church, it's simple. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Oops, there's a part that's hard. It's easy to remember the Sabbath, but to keep it holy? Think about it. What do you do on a holiday? Or on a day that you don't normally work? You sit and watch movies? Some of those movies are not exactly what is good for the psyche. They don't build you up. They may not turn you down, tear you down. They are just what somebody is making lots of money on and basically indoctrinating you with. Some of these things I have great difficulty with. Not the commandments themselves, but the way that people do or don't remember them. Verse 9 says, 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. Have you ever been sitting out on your deck or on your lawn or on your back doorstep and you see village or community workers working on the 7th day of their week? God says, 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, because you should be resting your body instead of tormenting it the full 7 days. But the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea and all that is in them. And he rested the 7th day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. There you have the 4th, I think. The 5th one, 5th commandment. The law against parental dishonor. That's gonna get some people. I mentioned before, I have some real deep thoughts on some of these. I know where I did most of my working days here in Buffalo Narrows. I spent my days working at the school. And there we are indoctrinated with the idea that it takes a whole community to raise a child. Is that the truth? I don't think so. What comes out of your loins? Or out of your wife's womb? Who does it belong to? Who has the responsibility over that new being? Who is responsible? If you leave it in the hands of the people of the community, this person may say, you can do whatever you like. This person over here would say, no, you can't do that. And another one says, a fraction different. Before you know it, you get everybody's ideas of how to raise that child. They have interfered with the parental responsibility of the two people who gave birth to him. And in essence, as they have taken away the responsibility of that child, it lets them loose to go out and form another one so they can keep the people of the community busy raising their children. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Whose responsibility is it then? It does not, the responsibility does not belong to every other person in the community. Yes, they need to obey at school. They need to obey at home. They need to behave and do things properly by some standard. And that standard generally is made up or created by their parents. Or in essence, by the community as a whole. Not this one, that one, the other one, but by community standards. That child, whether male or female, should be raised by the parents. I know a fair number of you folks know that I had 3 boys. Actually, I had more than 3 boys. My oldest children are in their 60s today. Late 50s, early 60s. That responsibility is mine. I refused. Not really, I guess. Some people may look at it that way, but I don't. I allowed myself to come to the place where I messed up and I did something that God does not condone. I got a divorce from my first wife. And I can assure you, it hurt. It hurt right down to the very core. But it seems that that's the way that our society seems to go. If there is not a higher attitude or regulation. That was law number 5. Honor thy father and thy mother. And this qualifies your life as a child if you look at it properly. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. The length of your days, the length of the days of the child, depends quite pronouncedly on how you honor your father and your mother. What I have seen here is there are so many cases where there is no honor for anyone other than self. Next, we come to another commandment. This is a commandment against, it says, thou shalt not kill. I know there are things that have happened in this community since I've lived here. Some people think that they're so much part of the upper crust because we're one way or another. They think it builds them up. And it seems like they were never condemned for this one. Thou shalt not kill. We've had people kill their friends, kill their neighbors, kill family members. And they just seem to think that it's a big deal. It's not a big deal. It's not a good deal. Thou shalt not kill. There's a couple of things in there that there's also a law against adultery. Adultery is going after someone's man or woman. Law against adultery. There's also a law against larceny. I think I better, so that is commandment number 7. No, number 7. I think I'm going to have to do the clarifying. Looking at the word. Bringing up more thoughts. You do not dishonor your father or your mother. Thou shalt not kill. When you look at the idea of going out and having difficulty keeping your clothes on and not doing things properly, committing adultery is one of them. I will have to clarify that one. It will be coming in one of the next videos. Oh, here's another one. Thou shalt not steal. Oh. We have, since we've been here in our community, we were indoctrinated quite early. There are people who seem to make a portion of their living at breaking this one commandment. And it's followed up by the next commandment, which is, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Because anytime you steal, quite often you'll accuse someone else of the theft to keep yourself from being stopped, arrested. I know I have had one case where a young fellow walked into my shop, picked up a motorcycle engine. It was a small one, it wasn't a big one. Nevertheless, he picked it up and very brazenly walked out of my shop with it in his arms and carried it home. Then he nice and politely went to school and bragged how he stole an engine from my shop. He was bragging about it. We know that the police are supposed to stop people from stealing. But first of all, they need witnesses. Witnesses quite often will lie about this person or that person or whatever, and they get away with it. I know it is quite the contrary to the way that people look at things nowadays. Because a lot of people don't look at lying being breaking the law. Bearing false witness against your neighbor is not breaking a law. Stealing is not against a law. Yes, it is. Even as I have read them. Number 9 is false witness. Number 10 is about covetousness. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, or his ass, or anything that is thy neighbor's. A couple of weeks ago, I went out and I found an empty spot in my garden. That's not coveting, I guess. But there is something in that garden. I have, in the last number of years, bought a number of trees. I like trees. I like spruce trees, pine trees, fruit trees, shade trees. I have bushes that have berries on them. I know in the summertime, when my Saskatoon berries got nice and ripe and big and dark blue, oh, a lot of people love to come over and covet my Saskatoon berries. That is in essence stealing out of my garden. I brought a number of cherry bushes and cherry trees, basically to try to see how they would grow here. Because I have found that it's strange how some things grow fantastic here. I had 5 different kinds of cherry trees. Some of them aren't doing all that great, although it seems that they do grow cherries on them. But if those cherries are growing on the trees, it sure would be nice to be able to taste them. Here, a few weeks ago, I walked out and one tree, one of my cherry trees, it was actually one that was really producing fantastic. I picked cherries off of it, and they were very, very good. And it basically worked out the same as it did with the Saskatoons. I don't think I would advise too much with the idea of the chokecherries. Chokecherries have a few hazards. And those hazards are in the way of little worms that basically destroy your crop. It's difficult to take off this cherry and throw it in the garbage, and take off that one, and that one, and that one, that one, that one, just to try to get rid of the little bugs. I understand that at a certain time of the year they try to travel around and around, and they bother other bushes. These were not diseased. We did not have bugs on them to start with. Of course, they had to grow always. And somewheres along the line, a bug, or 2 bugs, or 3 bugs, all got together and they started a little bit of gang activity, and they ganged up on my 2 or 3 chokecherry trees. I have not been able to take off a crop of chokecherries that you can use. But I have listed here 10 commandments. God says that they are very important, because if it does not affect one person, it does not make it good. That doesn't all the different commandments. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. You want to put up other gods? Well, I'll tell you, the other gods are just an arm and a leg from the one whom God does not condone. And he's the one that is out after anyone who does not serve him. And he in his wisdom is out to destroy you. Each and every one of you. If it's not here on this earth, or propagated on this earth by one or another, he will destroy you by taking you to the place where he can do a proper job of it. And that is, he is the only other being. He's a being who thinks he's a God, but he was created by God. And then he got jealous. And since then, he's been taking it out on everybody else. God says, thou shalt not make any graven image of any other thing, created thing. Because that is virtually another God. A law against profanity. I wish people would clean up their mouths, because it is not something that is very virtuous. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain. That is exactly what I just spoke of. Law against Sabbath breaking. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. God created everything. He is the only God. He created everything, and he is due. Remember the Sabbath day. That's a day if you shall not do any work. God gives us one day of rest. Then we have the law against parental dishonor. Today, there are many who do not follow that one. Next one is Thou shalt not kill. If you commit adultery and you have created another being, and then go out and you have a abortion, that baby in the womb is another human being. There are those who think that a human being in the mother's womb is just another creature. That is not right. We have been given the gift of procreation. If we can't keep our pants on and behave ourselves, we can keep on procreating. And the only way that people can see getting away with it is by killing it. In killing it, you are killing another of God's creation. It's not a critter. It is not a thing. It is a person. And it's a person who has got a personality, who has got a mind, a heart. It beats. It lives. Thou shalt not steal. There are many here that I have known that they're thieves. Like that cherry tree that I was talking about. That was one of the best cherry trees that I had. It was loaded. It had a chance to grow to be about 4 feet tall. And then some person who did not have any care or concern about how I felt, they walked into my yard and they, nice and politely, clutched it up. I don't know where they went with it. I wish they would have come in and picked all the poplars. We got poplars all over the backyard. But that doesn't matter. That's what somebody else is doing, not me. I would like to see them gone because I have to pick up all those damn seeds every year. Front yard, backyard, all over the place. They plug up the eaves troughs. They get into everything. And they are nothing but a nuisance. I have to go around every so often and pull up the suckers. They're not my suckers. They are suckers from the big trees that are dropping the seeds. They are the things that are a nuisance. If I was to leave them all alone, and just let them go, I could have a forest in my backyard. But I don't have a backyard, so I can have a forest. I would like to be able to enjoy my backyard. Do not bear false witness. Do not lie. It's plain and simple. Every person who has done something against me that I saw as they walked away from my yard. One case, I heard a beer can hit the end of my house. 6 o'clock in the morning. I got up. I looked out the window. And that was one night that I had parked my half-ton on the street. And after throwing a full can of beer at my house, just to wake me up, it seemed, I saw a young fella walking away, and he had smashed my windshield with a case of beer. I later found 2 cans of beer in my yard. One that hit the end of the house, and I believe the other one was empty. I reported it. I saw the man walk away. The police went to talk to the person. I never did that. So automatically, he's innocent. What I saw doesn't count for a hill of beans. Well, I will just leave it there. We have been given 10 commandments. There are other commands that have come out through the years. Some were basically for the Jewish people, some not. Anyways, I am sorry for rambling on. I have aired that dirty laundry too many times. And I think it has gotten to the point where it stinketh. I would just like to get back to teaching what the Word says, not the results when people don't do as they say they're going to do.